Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon to you all. Respected chief guest of today's seminar, special guest, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Hassan Ali University of Science and Technology, respected faculty members of E2SD and my dear students of E2SD. When they invited me to talk today about ethics and business ethics basically, when I heard that the audience would be primarily student, I was more interested than ever because it's always a pleasure and a privilege to talk in front of the young minds. So for the next 20 minutes, my time was 20 minutes, so I'll just talk to you about something very basic about ethics and what we should do, how we should foster a culture of ethics. So presentation. Alright, just before I start the presentation, how many Robin Hood গল্প কে কে জানে? সবাই জানে, তাহলে তো সবার হাত দিচ্ছি না। Majority of you. Alright, Robin Hood কি করতো? Steal the tax from the sheriff and give it to the poor. Was it good or bad? Good. It's okay, we will not judge each other. Good or bad? Good. So একজন থেকে চুরি করে একজনকে দেয়া is okay, whoever it is. আর bad কয়জন? And why is that? Why is it bad? He used to take the taxes of the poor from the rich and give it back to the poor. Why was it wrong? Yeah, the bad case.
Not all the things just for question answer by them.
It's not a yes, no, but I'm both. He has a jury person, but he gave it to the people who need it. And if somebody said it's contextual. We will talk for another 20 minutes and I'll ask the same question to you at the end of the talk. And then you will answer which one is good and which one is bad. Ask for question? Okay. Now, what is actually business ethics? Business ethics, it is a subject, and most of you who have done the 4 years of business education at E2SD has done an entire course on business ethics. One of the boring side of the course, you have to read a lot, understand a lot, and write a lot. But other than that, what do you actually mean by business ethics? It is, of course, a branch of applied ethics. It studies the relationship of what is good and right to business. Why do we need to study business ethics? This should come to us naturally. Why do we have to study it? Now, first of all, in order to understand that, we need to understand what is actually business. It's a very complex web of relationships between employees, employers, customers, organizations, managers, stockholders, stakeholders, and we have seen insider traders, officers, employers, any stakeholders, government. So it's a very complex relationship, and every relationship has contacts and transactions, exchange of goods and services between them. Now, while it is also a good exchange of goods and services, they are also very moral relationships. And initially, when business came into being, which is like, I don't want to go back to the history. Questions concerning profit growth and technological advancements, it didn't have that ethical dimension then, which we now have. Now, I am doing an activity as a business. This has a lot of implication. It could be positive, it could be negative. There is nothing called neutrality. So when these things come into being, then we have to understand what is right for me, what is right for my society, what is right for my organization, what is right for my employees and my stakeholders. So that is why we need to understand business ethics. However, ethics and business, so because in business, one group of people or one group of theorists will say, I will do business because I want to earn profit, and there is nothing wrong in it. You are working, you are selling goods and products and services to people, and you want to make some money. It's not charity. Otherwise, you would have done a charity. However, this basic idea has become fundamentally mistaken now. Initially, it was true that the goal of business had been profit, but profit making is not a morally neutral activity. After profit comes at the cost of certain activities. And when it happens, it becomes difficult to understand যে আমি আসলে কোন কাজটা ঠিক করছি বা কোন কাজটা ভুল করছি। And at one point in the last 2 decades and 3 decades, I would say this has become even more important because of a lot of things happening in the world. শুধু বাংলাদেশে না, আমি একটু গ্লোবাল দিয়ে বলছি। A lot of scandals, a lot of crises, অনেক ঘটনা ঘটে, newspaper আমরা পড়ি, the bigger the country, the bigger the scandal. Bangladesh is very small compared to the global ones. And all these scandals, when you analyze, when you research, when you do case studies, they all boil down to one thing, is ethics. এটা না করলেও পারতো। The managers, the CEOs are given unrealistic challenges, unrealistic revenue targets. করতে হবে, আনতে হবে, কিভাবে আমি আনবো? আনতে পারলে you will be given this much of your profit. You will be given this much of the remuneration. Now you give such a target and you ask me to take risk. I will take risk because that's what I work for at the end of the day. Into risk টা তখন আমি at the cost of what? We lose that sense on us. So because a lot of things are happening, do একটা incident আমি একটু আলাপ করতে চাই, so that will give us a okay. So this is one incident. This was in Nigeria, one of the most renowned companies, Shell. So this oil spill, আমি সবগুলোর link দিয়ে দিয়েছি. So once you have the presentation with you, you can go through the videos in the YouTube and see how they have done, what they have done, and what was the consequences. So this oil spill had actually, they had oil companies there, and a oil spill, what happened was, this Nigerian small community, Bodo community বলে, and they were affected. সব পানি তেলে পড়ে গেল, all the environment was destroyed, the people couldn't have drink water and all. At one point in time, they started finding the company or a lawsuit করলো, and the company had to pay $58 million to those community as a compensation. Now you tell me, ও যদি প্রথমেই কাজ না করতো তাহলে 58 million ওর দেয়া লাগলো না, and that is not the only cost that they have to pay. Shell is such a reputed company in the world. They have lost that reputation and respect in the entire world because of this one incident. And this happened in 2008-9, 2-3 বছর পর পর হচ্ছিল। So এখন we all know about it. So Shell চিন্তা করে আমাদের মাথায় কিন্তু এটা চলে আসবে. So you lose that also. Now answering the question why business ethics is because of this. আমরা এতক্ষণ দেখেছি positive জিনিসগুলো যে we should do this, we should do that. But if we don't do that, what happens is what we need to understand. This is another one, the British Petroleum's oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010. This incident, British Petroleum is one of the again most reputed companies, ছিল British company, and this, the consequence was, যখন investigation হয়, I'm sure all of you have read this in cases, যে over $3 million they needed for health and safety, যেটা বলে গেলেন আমাদের আইডল থেকে, যে health and safety টা every month of the $3 million cost লাগতো dollars, which they thought was a cost. And they ended up paying $2 billion to the US as a lawsuit. Because the government said at that point in time that at any cost, this needs to be punished. Because this has to be set as an example for the rest of the company so that they don't do that. So, এই গল্পগুলো বলার কিছু কারণ আছে, কারণ আমি কয়েকটা লাইন এখান থেকে পরে পিক করব। Now, coming to these incidents, they are all very responsible companies, very reputed companies. These are one of the incidents. However, এদের সাইডের গল্পটা যদি বলি, where do the boundaries of this business lie? কতটুকু পর্যন্ত আমি করব? Am I going to do business and also do all these things? আমি যদি আমার দেশের কথা বলি, there are companies, they are doing a lot of CSR activities. বহু কিছু করছে. You see the annual report of the company, they're making losses. Now you're making losses and you're spending money for CSR. How do you justify that as well? So কোথায় গিয়ে আমার বাউন্ডারিটা দাঁড়াবে? That is again a question of moral and ethical standards. How much will I attribute this ethics and moral to a company? ও তো ব্যবসা করতে বসছে, কতক্ষণ ওকে আমি নিজে কথা বলবো? Milton Friedman, সবাই আমরা যারা economics একটু পড়েছি, international trade, we all know about it. Do we know about it? Do we know about Milton Friedman? All right. What did he say? Make money, do business. এর বেশি বাকি যা আছে সব ভুয়া, right? So he basically talked about short term. Short term, this is fine, but in the long term, if you want to have a sustainable solution, this is not fine. He said whatever he said after the Great Depression, the short term with তাড়াতাড়ি করতে হবে. So everything is very short term. They all have negative implications when we think about long term. With time, a sign of this shift from what society expects of business and government, it a change হয়ে যাওয়া শুরু হলো এবং business is not out of the society. So এখন তোমার আসলে মিডল ট্রিটমেন্ট হলে হবে না. We will have to come up with something which is sustainable, which is morally and ethically standard. Now, can we actually come up with an ethical formula? এখানে এক গ্রুপ বললেন রবিন হুড ভালো, আরেক গ্রুপ বলল রবিন হুড খারাপ. Is there any formula? Maybe there is. Let's have a look. একটু কষ্ট করে পড়তে হবে, আমি পড়ে দিচ্ছি. আমি নামগুলো পড়ে আসলে সব ইংরেজি নাম দিয়েছি because then I was thinking ওমা কারণ নামের সাথে মিলে গেলে তো চিন্তা করবে এর কথা বলে ফেলেছি. But একটা নাম রয়ে গেছে. Sakib Chaudhary is worried. কেন worried? He is a salesman. Shakti Machinery জন্য he is working and he is in charge of negotiating an important sale of construction equipment to the government of a small but rapidly developing nation. খেয়াল করুন wordগুলো developing nation আর ও construction equipment sell করতে চাচ্ছে. The company is deeply in debt and Shaktiকে দায়িত্ব দেওয়া হয়েছে foreign market penetrate করতে হবে. Now this man, his potential contract is not only a very large one, but this is going to increase the sales of the company in the future. Now যেখানে ও গেল everything is fine, powerful government official একজন ওকে ধরে বসলো যে এখানে ব্যবসা করতে হলে $100,000 কমিশন দিতে হবে. Everything else is fine, সব ডিল শেষ, এবার তুমি দিবে কি দিবে. Now সাকিব যদি না দেয়, what happens is a contract ও পাবে না. So some other company will definitely get it, তারা ব্যবসা করবে. আর ও যদি পায়, he can actually do the business there, earn money, sales হবে, employment হবে organization এবং organization যে ডেটে পড়ে আছে সেই ডেট থেকে বের হয়ে চলে আসতে পারবে. Now he knows that although he is aware that such payments are not unusual in many countries, so এটা illegal না এখানে, আইনে কোনো বাধা নেই, ওর মনের মধ্যে বাধা আছে, ও দিবে কি দিবে না বুঝতে পারছে না. So he has always felt that these were wrong and he has never done this report to security. Now he is coming to all of you, okay, to suggestion dite hobe what he will do. Does he pay? After অসুবিধা নেই, we will not judge each other. He pays, and why is that? Because ওনা দিলে অন্য কেউ দিবে. He doesn't pay. He doesn't pay. Why? ঠিক না কাজটা. All right. He will actually think about it from three perspectives: from a business point of view, from a legal point of view, and from a moral point of view. Now, when he thinks about the business point of view, what happens is, rule holo, when there is a conflict between ethics and law, follow what the law says. Jhamela mukta. Nobody is going to come and question your ethics. People are going to come and put you into jail for illegal stuff. Whenever there is a conflict between ethics and business principle, one ought to do what business principle says. Business principle says, expand your business, do your business, earn your profit, right? Moral point of view কি বলে? However, এই দুইটা রুলকে আমরা একটু revisit করব এখন. If I say that legal is always right, and we should give priority to legal obligations before the ethical obligations, it might not always be the right. In 1952, the law said বাংলায় কথা বলা যাবে না, and people went against the law because they thought that was ethically correct, and that was actually the right decision. So whenever there is a conflict between law and ethics, not necessarily always the law is right. Business profit over ethics. এই যে সাকিবের মতো এই ভদ্রলোক এই কাজ করলো, paper company has moved to a country where there are few laws protecting the environment. কোনো environment protection law নেই. So now what happens? In order to minimize cost and then increase the profit, they started legally dumping all the toxic material there. তারপরে কি হবে? Our profit হবে, ব্যবসা ভালো হবে, but this is harming the people in that country. Are you going to do it or not? No. So even if your business says you can make profit, we cannot do it always. Now, so basically there is a third rule. which says whenever there is a conflict between ethical principles and business or legal principles, you need to follow what your ethics says. It could be against the law, it could be against your business. So we will do what is right at that point in time. So Sakib Taka dibe? Dibe Sakib Taka? Ekhonu jane na. There are two things that you need to consider. There are few principles that helps you decide what is right or wrong. Ektaকে আমরা বলি ethical subjectivism. All right. So ethical subjectivism মানে কি? For example, I'm a very poor person, Sir is a very rich person. Now we need to give some money to somebody. আমার organization একটু আগে বললাম একজন লস করছে কোম্পানি একজন প্রফিট করছে. The profit company is bound to give CSR ওর জন্য it's justified, it should or not. যে লস করছে তার জন্য কিন্তু এটা জাস্টিফাই না. So somebody who's making a loss or poor, he can always say that আমি তো দিতে পারবো না because I don't have it. So তার জন্য কিন্তু এটা ethically right. And now the person who is rich and giving this cannot go and say you are ethically wrong. So judge your subjectivism এর উপরে সে ডিসিশনটা নিতে. প্রত্যেকের সিচুয়েশন ডিফারেন্ট. এই প্রিন্সিপালটা তাই বলে. Next, relativism. What is ethically correct in Bangladesh might not be ethically correct in US. There are countries which promote slavery. There are countries which do not allow slavery. Now, এখন যে দেশে allow করছে সেই দেশে গিয়ে আমি যদি বলি this is ethically wrong, he or she is not going to stand to that point because this is relativism. So considering these two principles, whenever you take a decision in the business, you need to think about that. There is another one called consequentialism, which says, think what the consequence is. For example, our consequence, what do we value most? At a business key value করে, what is the objective of a business? Finance definition, quick. Profit maximization, okay, value maximization. Value maximization. Human being, what maximization? Happiness. Now, if that is my end product, I'm happiness child. Whatever you do in order to increase your happiness is ethically permissible. আমি বলছি না ও বলছে. So considering all this, and then there is the rights which আরেকটা অনেক কথা বলেছে. Rights of speech, rights of freedom, equal pay, equal work, medical care, এই legal rights গুলো আছে which also needs to be taken into consideration when you take a decision. Then we have the virtues, which is basically our personality traits and our character and courage, which we need to consider when we take an ethical decision. Now, given all this, আমি একটু টেনে যাচ্ছি because সময় দিয়ে শেষ হয়ে যাবে. So given all this, we will have to see and decide whether I should do something which is acceptable or permissible in the society. এই প্রিন্সিপাল গুলো আমাকে হেল্প করবে ডিসিশনটা নিতে এবং এখানে কিন্তু কোনো রাইট রং নেই. There are a few dilemmas. Bangladeshi perspective যদি বলি, every day you open the newspaper, you will see ভেজাল খাবার দাম বাড়িয়ে দিয়েছে, হোর্ডিং করে রেখেছে, পেঁয়াজ মার্কেটে নাই কিন্তু কোথাও না কোথাও আছে. আমার insider trading, we have seen an entire presentation on it. E-commerce, e-valley, টাকা দিলাম, জিনিস আনলাম, টাকা কোথায় চলে গেল, কোম্পানি কোথায় চলে গেল জানলাম না. E-orange, কোম্পানিতে যাই বলে আমাকে গিফট দাও, টিকিট দাও, বিদেশে পাঠাও, ট্রেনিং নিয়ে আসবে, তারপরে নাকি আমার কাজ করে দিবে. সবই আমারই করে দিতে হবে. So these are practices and we keep on seeing this news every day. Are they right or wrong? এই dilemma-টা right or wrong আমি যাবই না. These dilemmas we face every single day when somebody does business. আর হয়তো কথা বলবেন ওরা কোম্পানিতে what are the challenges they face when they actually do business in the market. So these kind of dilemmas actually lead us to question ourselves, are we missing the bigger picture? We all know this picture. কথা বলে গেছে একটু আগে. নামি দামি brands, companies are safe, workers are working. Our worker health and safety আছে, আমার fire exit আছে, safety, everything is fine. Then why did this happen? Where did we get wrong? The buildings were marked safe. সবকিছু ঠিক আছে, আইনের উপর আইন আছে. Then where did we go wrong? Why did this happen? So we are definitely missing the bigger picture somewhere. And then after this has happened, please read this article. This is an extremely good, well-written article in The Guardian. So after this happened, what happened? Every company were asked to give 50 lakhs to the victims of Rana Plaza. And then after 2-3 months, you see in the newspaper, they haven't got the money. So where did the money go? And why would companies give money to this place when they have no contribution whatsoever in doing this? This is a man-made activity, not a natural one. So these actually gives us the dilemma. ব্যাংকের কথা তো বাদই দিলাম, এখন হিসাব রাখতে ডিফিকাল্ট হয়ে যায় যে কোন ব্যাংকে কি হলো, কোনটা কি নাম, আজকে এই নাম কালকে ওই নাম. So there are some lists I've given here, and these are actually issues that needs to be thought from the core. আজকে হলমার্ক, কালকে বিসমিল্লাহ, পরশু জনতা ব্যাংক, তারপরে every single days we are saying news. As I say, these are not the only news. There are bigger news. যে স্যার বলছিলেন ক্যালিফোর্নিয়াতে রাত দুপুরে দেখি উঠে একদিন এক রাতের মধ্যে ব্যাংক নাই. So it's not only in Bangladesh, it's everywhere. But can we stop this, or can we protect us, and can we make us better to stop this? So the question is there. Just Bangladeshi perspective এই মুহূর্তে যেটা আছে, we have a very strong legal, অনেক law আছে, অনেক আইন আছে, but law গুলো হচ্ছে কিনা, monitoring and implementation we are very weak. Code of corporate governance, financial reporting এর এটা আছে, দুনিয়া law, CSR guidelines, sustainability reporting, a lot of things, but whether it is being followed is a big question. So what I think, since you are students, we need to create awareness. We need to educate the people from the education systems and education centers to foster ethics and integrity. So integrity at all levels. Okay. So just in order to, এটা কিভাবে আমরা একটা organization, how do we ensure ethical standards? Number one, you need to foster openness and integrity in the workplace. So since all of you will be working in organization, এটা জানলে হয়তো you can help. The second thing is you need to address the barriers to the unethical behavior. So sorry, এটা unethical হবে, ঠিক আছে? একটা ethical behavior করতে কেন একজন ভয় পায়? Number three, you need to have a framework. So আমি খুব quickly একটু বলি. This is an example. এই এক্সাম্পলটাতে আছে যে this man ও gift নিবে একজন থেকে, ওকে নিবে না. Now in order to understand this, একবার আমরা বলে ফেলবো না যে না নিবে না, এটা ভুল. হতে পারে কোম্পানি পলিসি আছে, কতটুকু পর্যন্ত নিব, কি গিফট নিব. So you need to foster a company culture where you are open with your employees. Employees যেন ভয় না পায়, সে বলতে পারে আমাকে এটা অফার করেছে, am I allowed to take it? You need to have a policy যে আমার কি কি gift allowed আছে না, and then he will not make the mistake because he knows very clearly what he should do and what he should not do. আমি যদি বাসায় আমার বাচ্চাকে না বলি these are the things you are not allowed to do, ও করার পরে যদি চিৎকার করি, it doesn't make any sense. It's exactly the same thing. How do you address the barriers to unethical behavior? You need to find out why that person is doing this. There are times যে আপনার এখানেও একটা এক্সাম্পল আছে, এক্সাম্পল গুলো দেখলে একদম ক্লিয়ার হয়ে যাবে এই সিচুয়েশনে আমার কি করা উচিত. This person আপনার এটা কোনটা, okay, so in order to impress a client sales এ, ও তখন কোম্পানি ফিগারস গুলোকে ইনফ্লেট করে বলে, ধরেন আমার কোম্পানিটা খুব ছোট, আমার লজ্জা লাগছে বলতে, আমি বললাম 100 মেম্বারের কোম্পানি, আমার এত সেলস আসলে হয়তো বা কম, because I want to impress her. Is that right? Maybe not. So ও তো জানে না ও কেন এই কাজটা করছে. Find that out. So find out why this person is not doing the right thing. Probably ও superior. I'm questioning obedience to superior. আমার superior আমাকে কি বলবে, বলেছে সেলস করতে হবে, আমার করতে হবে, এবার আমি যে কথাই করি না কেন. You have to pressure to fit in. আমাকে কোম্পানিতে সেলস আনতে হবে, কোম্পানিতে I have to be someone. So in pressure you do that. Think about the bankers who come to you for deposits. Being motivated to look the other way. আপনি এটা পাত্তাই দিলেন না. Feeling you are not responsible. This is not my duty. My duty is to sell and get it done. এই যে আমি করব কি করব না, এটা বলবো কি বলবো না, this is not my duty. If you think like that, then maybe you will end up doing it. Gradual descent into unethical behavior is small. So ছোট্ট জিনিস, if you do not correct it from the beginning, you will end up doing something big. So these are some of the barriers which you need to take. Now, how do you actually make an ethical behavior? এখানে এটা দেয়া আছে এক্সাম্পলটা, চারটা স্টেপ. Find out what is the problem. কেন করতে পারছি না যেটা ঠিক. Gather and analyze facts. আরো ইনফরমেশন বের করে রাখেন. Consider the consequences. If I do A, what is it? If I do B, what is it? If I do C, what is it? And then choose your choice. Test your decision with 1 or 2 incidents. Am I right or wrong? If it is right, go ahead. If it's wrong, go back, take more data, and then finally take the decision. So these are two quiz questions. I think I've come to the end of my presentation. That is all I have to say from the organization point of view, because you all will be working in organizations. And if you instill this now in you, you will not end up making mistakes or not making decisions that you will regret later on. মানে এটা আসলে মনে রাখতে হবে যে it takes a long time to build an organization, a reputation in the market, and it takes only one single event to destroy the entire thing. And when you work in an organization, every single individual in that organization is responsible to carry on with the reputation of the organization. Thank you very much. Please, a question to the beginning.
Okay, well, we have some question.